I missed the last piece there, but my friend Yu Chun-che there is always prepared to tell a joke or two about me, so I imagine he said something rude. That's okay. Can I say it is a huge honor to follow my friend He Xiaomin there, and the comments from the perspective of China Renmin University Press. As you can see, we are very fond of each other. We're very devoted, and I hope that you'll forgive me if I don't repeat many of the things that you said. It's a great partnership that we have there. But what I thought I would do is actually to do a slightly different kind of presentation. Before I get there, however, I do want to assure you that, well, there was an interesting comment that was made yesterday by Professor Hoey of Liverpool University, who said that good communication and good partnership is more about listening than about speaking. And I think that's absolutely right. And so I also want to reassure my friend Nigel, sitting just there, that I do listen to Oxford University Press as well. I listen to Nigel. And in particular, he was saying earlier, let's get away from this talk about marriages. I agree. So we had a little bit of a discussion during the coffee break earlier, and we've decided not to talk about husbands and wives, but just to talk about concubines instead. So we can have lots of concubines, and we'll all be happy. Thank you also, Nigel, for doing a splendid presentation just then on behalf of your university press and mine. It seemed to me that there are so many things that we have in common. But it's not just us. It's the Chinese university presses as well, and there is just a common language there that is very exciting to be able to listen to. So the formal presentation that I wanted to make is much more of a roundup of all of the things that we have heard in the last 2 or 3 days about what collaborations are about or can be about. And I hope that you'll forgive me if I give you pretty much a written speech here now. Starting off with the comment that the business of publishing in the UK is something that is about 500 years old. And so we are probably the best developed country in the world as publishers, alongside the USA, arguably. It would therefore be all too easy for us to say that cooperation with China will effectively be a one-way street, where the UK would be expected to provide its knowledge and expertise to China, but the payback for the UK would be less obvious. Now, I've heard that said several times, but I don't agree with that point of view. Those of you who have worked with me in the past few years will know that I have strongly supported collaboration with Chinese publishers and with the Chinese government, because I believe that it will be beneficial to both parties for a number of reasons. First of all, China has a wealth of intellectual and cultural resources, many of which have never been translated from Chinese into other languages, and therefore have never been seen outside China. These are materials which both academic and casual readers can enjoy if we are thoughtful about the titles we choose to take into the Western markets. I have little doubt that there is a real demand for authentic material from the Chinese horse's mouth, so to speak. Secondly, we are engaged in an extraordinary moment in the history of publishing. It's almost a revolution, when the models by which we operate will be transformed in a very short period of time. This digital age, in my view, rates as the third great age of publishing, following the invention of paper and then the invention of movable type. Now, we are all still in an exploratory and experimental phase in this transformation. When I say all, I mean publishers in the UK and in China, for we are all looking for the technologies that will be effective and simple for our consumers, while at the same time being financially and operationally efficient for the publishing industry itself. And can I just emphasize those two words, effective and simple, for our consumers, because one of the wonderful things about the book is it's a very easy thing to work with. We all know how to open a book cover, turn the pages, and you sort of know what to expect next. With technology, you've got a very different proposition, and actually we may need to spend a lot of time and money teaching our consumers how to use these things unless we can develop very simple and effective technology models. I would suggest to you that we could waste also a huge amount of time, money, and energy by trying to invent this brave new world without collaboration between our nations, and that it would be far better if we pooled our resources to develop those future forms of publishing swiftly and inexpensively. The third thing that I think China has to offer the UK is greater access to the Chinese domestic market. One example that is relevant to my organisation, Cambridge University Press, is the school books business, which, as you will all know, is very tightly controlled in the state sector and is effectively reserved for Chinese publishers. I'm hopeful that the day will come, during my lifetime, I hope, when China and the UK will be sufficiently experienced in operating in partnership, and that means trusting of each other, that the present rules on access to various Chinese markets will be relaxed to enable British publishers to offer their products to future generations of young Chinese people who can look forward to playing a part in a more globalized world. The payback for all of this, of course, is that China itself will be looking to achieve greater access to Western markets, which it can either do with our assistance or by taking advantage of the very liberal ownership regimes in most Western nations that permit foreign companies to buy our domestic publishing businesses. That would be a very obvious way for us to collaborate more closely with China, and I hope that we will see more merger and acquisition activity developing over the next few years. I was in Oxford last Friday, though not at your university. I was actually at Oxford Brookes University, and I was speaking there on the same subject of collaboration between China and the UK. One of the things that I said was that people tend to think of collaborations as being company to company, B2B. But often the most helpful forms of collaboration are at a much more personal level. I pointed out that there are publishing consultants such as Chris Patterson here, whom many of you already know, of course, and there are many academics from our very good publishing courses at Oxford Brookes, City University in London, University College London, Anglia Ruskin University in Cambridge, Stirling University up in Scotland, amongst others, who can also be very valuable resources in guiding Chinese businesses and helping them to develop their publishing capabilities. But I think there is much more that we can do as individuals and companies, including enabling Chinese publishers and editors to come over to the UK to get a look at our own publishing operations from the inside, so that they will be able to understand the differences between our two countries' processes and between our customers' expectations. And this is something, of course, that Tan Yu earlier, he also mentioned that business of exchanging editors, for example, and marketeers and distribution people, so that we can better understand how to work together. There is plenty that we can do to help China, and of course many of those things could work the other way round, such that China might host some of our publishers to enable them to gain clearer insights into the Chinese market. Above all, though, I am very clear in my mind that the right way to look at this question of collaboration is in the far wider context of making our contribution to building the best possible relations between the UK and China. If we work together, we can improve the West's understanding of Chinese culture, philosophy, and politics in a way that will be helpful to China as it becomes an increasingly important player on the global political and economic stages. And as Nigel said earlier, part of what we can do is about Chinese language, teaching and learning. In return, Britain will be far better placed to maintain and develop its influence in this important part of the world, and to improve its exports of both physical and intellectual products to the vast market represented by China. In this regard, I speak not only as a publisher, but as a member of the Confederation of British Industry, the CBI, of which I am chairman in the East of England, which regards China as a key partner as we seek to restore the traditional robustness of the Western economies. I have always been a person of many trades and many countries, wearing several different hats. Today I am wearing the hats of a publisher, a businessman, a Briton, and a friend of China. I'm wearing 4 hats in all. I hope that you will forgive this eccentricity, and I look forward to many more happy years of working with China. Thank you.